Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Maximum warp. Punch it. Punch it.
Punch it, Bishop!
Punch it.
Punch that shit!
Let's punch it.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Punch It. This is episode 110. My name is Charlene Schmidt, and with me, as always, is
Tristan Riddell.
Tristan. It is so good to see your face and to be back. I'm glad you are alive, and you're not completely not ill. You're still trying to kick the darn thing, right? But you're here.
I am still ill. This is insane. This is probably the longest that I've ever been sick with a cold. And I can't remember the last time that you and I took 2 consecutive weeks off.
It was a long time ago, but we have done it once before, either because schedules didn't mesh, illness, I don't really remember. It's very rare for us to do this, though, and so our apologies to our listening audience if you, in fact, did miss us, but it was not meant to be. We tried last week, and it just didn't happen.
It just didn't happen. I've been hacking and gacking and coughing and everything like that. And so I was just like, I don't think the listeners really want to hear me do that in the mic. And actually, longtime listeners probably will notice my voice sounds a little different right now. I'm not 100%. You guys can probably hear it in my nose.
A little bit. You're a little deeper. You're a little more nasal, and there's like a hint of graininess in your voice. But you're close.
I'm close. I should be next episode. Next time you guys hear me, I should be back at 100%. At least let's hope. I mean, I even took 2 weeks off with my other show, Nerd Nuptial. We just released our latest episode on Monday, and it was about Star Trek Discovery Season 2. It was an overview.
Yeah, I've not listened to that yet, but I'm looking forward to it, and that segues right into the first thing we've got to talk about today, which is the fact that we have now completed another season of Star Trek Discovery, and I want to know, overall, how did you think it went? Did you like it?
The season or the episode ender?
Well, maybe we ought to discuss both, because this finale, they said it's going to be bananas, it's going to be explosive. Did it live up to that hype?
Yes. Yes, it was bananas, it was explosive, and I think it was a good season finale. I think it was a really good season finale. I was thoroughly entertained. There was a lot of things that happened where I kind of was just like, or I rolled my eyes, or I got really nitpicky as a fan, as a Star Trek fan. Which we all
do, yeah.
Which we all do. But overall, I thought it was a very, very cool, entertaining episode. How about you?
Oh, I definitely feel like they went out, they pulled out all the stops, threw in the kitchen sink and said, we're going to freaking do this. And so on first viewing, I really thoroughly enjoyed it. It was intense. I don't know about you, but I was exhausted after watching that last hour. I'm just like, okay, this feels like they put in a lot of hard work. Just exactly how many hours of overtime, especially the special effects people, did they put in to make this happen? Because holy wow, there was some really cool stuff. And in terms of the story, first time around, I just sat back and I enjoyed it, and I thought they did a really nice job. Upon further viewings, of course, I'm picking it apart, and I have questions. I think everybody does. But overall, yeah, this is a lot more satisfying, I felt, than, say, the end of the first season, which I felt was way too rushed. This was much better in terms of pacing, even though it is still incredibly action-packed. And yes, they did try to wrap up a bunch of things in one big pretty bow and say, okay, it's done, here we go.
I need to rewatch the season 1 ender, because I remember being entertained and liking it. But I should do that so I can compare it to season 2's finale. Because with what you were saying, though, about how you felt like it was work and you were anxious and like it was exhausting watching that episode, I felt that too, in a good way, but also in a bad way, where it got to the point where and of course, like, spoiler alert, if you're listening to the show, I'm sure you have actually seen the episode.
I hope you have.
There's no way to talk about it without spoiling anything. But when Michael was in the time suit and talking with Spock, and they were trying to figure out how to go forward in time, like, there was so much back and forth and so many emotional moments, and there was so much action going on at the same time. It got to the point where my wife and I were just like, just go, just get the job done, just go.
I have to agree with you there, because one of my big criticisms of the season as a whole is its intensity level. The fact that they're trying to move the plot points and the story so freaking fast that there's no time to pause and process. And I miss kind of talky Star Trek. They check in on a very rare occasion here and there on Discovery, but it's mostly we need to keep things moving. We need it to be action-packed. And I'm thinking, no, slow down. Let's breathe a little bit. But then they did take this moment in this episode to breathe between Burnham and Spock, because we knew these were going to be kind of like these final moments, right? If they succeeded in their mission. And I'm like, but guys, you see what's happening around you. People are dying. You need to get going now.
People are dying. I literally yelled that out loud while I was watching the episode. I said, people are dying.
Like, now is not the time, okay? Like, we don't have the time, if I can
Let's
pull
have
a
the
phrase.
slowest high five in history.
Oh, my God. I mean, I get it, and I wanted to enjoy it, but no, with time being really of the essence here, what do you got? No, you guys, no. I felt like they got that wrong. I wish we would have had those moments in a different way.
Yeah, it was almost like, are you a Lord of the Rings fan?
Not really. I've seen the first movie twice. The first time way back when in the theater, and sitting on for 3 hours in a really uncomfortable theater seat just really made my rear end hurt so bad that I swore off the other two films. I have since gone and rewatched that one, but I still need to watch the other two, so I can't say I'm a fan.
Wow, that was a very long and complicated answer for a no, but yes.
But that's how traumatic that experience was. I mean, my tailbone hurt for days after that.
Oh, I can totally understand and appreciate that. But there's a battle in the second one, which is actually my favorite one. It's called the Battle of Helm's Deep. And it's a battle that goes on forever. Like, it's a huge chunk of the movie. And you have crazy action scenes and then quiet moments. Crazy action scenes and then quiet moments. And there's a rhythm to it that's very well crafted and very well done. And I feel like Discovery attempted something akin to that rhythm, but didn't quite achieve it. And some people might disagree with me here, but it feels like that's what they were trying to go for. And with this battle, I think they did an okay job of balancing it, because we got a space battle that lasted almost the entire hour, which is insane for a space battle.
Especially on a TV budget.
But like for a space battle to last that long is pretty insane. But like when you're in an old-time war battle or even a modern war battle, there are natural ebb and flows of a lot of action and then pausing, regrouping. In a space battle like that, there's really not. Like, it's pretty much just like, it's a lot of craziness and it's all the way in, no stopping. Now, I'm sure that there's exceptions to the rule, but that's always my kind of take on it. And so it was hard for them to interject it, but I think they did an okay job. But overall, how did you feel in the last episode about, we're talking about the craziness. What did you think about the pods, the shuttles acting like fighters, and just the sheer numbers of everything going on?
Yeah, it's like they rewatched Star Trek Beyond and saw the swarm, and then the Discovery showrunner said, "Hold my beer." And then we got this incredibly intense, just pieces everywhere in this space battle. I felt like it was maybe a little too intense because it was so hard to follow what was going on where. I mean, it's dust everywhere on my screen. I can't completely see what's happening.
You couldn't even see Michael in her spacesuit when you were literally right behind her with the camera.
Right. I guess that's what they were going for. But at the same time, it was a little jarring as a viewer trying to figure like which speck of dust I'm supposed to be looking at.
I love the Kelvin verse. I love the Kelvin movies. I should say I love 2/3 of the Kelvin movies. And I love the feeling, the vibe, the style, and everything like that. And so I want people to know that before I say what I'm about to say. There was a lot about this episode and the battle that felt very Star Wars.
Like the little R2-D2 things?
Oh my gosh. That scene where let's just call them what they are. The astromech droids came out and started fixing the hull. It was a scene ripped from The Phantom Menace. It was the exact same scene from The Phantom Menace, and it did nothing to propel the story forward. It screwed with canon and did nothing
Well,
for the story.
You could counter that. You could say that now, like, there was, I think, what was it, in Star Trek 2009, there is like an R2-D2 floating around somewhere in a space battle that fans have caught. And so in a way that canonizes that little thing.
There you go.
So the Kelvinverse fans probably enjoyed that, but that did feel to me like, oh, okay, little robot, okay, that's cute, I guess.
I feel like there could have been a lot of just little tweaks that you could tone things down while still maintaining the epicness of it and have it a much more quote-unquote realistic Star Trek battle where you'd have fewer Section 31 ships and fewer shuttles, no probes, no pods or anything like that. And like, don't treat the shuttles as fighters, treat them as, what they are. They're shuttles, like have them as adapted shuttles, not X-Wing fighters. And you could have your ship-to-ship battles just like we've seen before, like look at Deep Space Nine.
Right, I was thinking that too.
Like you can have ship-to-ship battles and it was very believable within the Star Trek universe. And with this one, it just felt so crazy, so over the top that it was more befitting in Star Wars than Star Trek. But, I mean, regardless, it was entertaining. And I'm just nitpicking now.
Yeah. That's just kind of what we do as fans. You start off, you're like, yeah, I loved it, but then we get into the nitty gritty. Yeah, but then, okay, overall, season 2. Yeah, some final thoughts. I mean, I want to go back now and just watch the whole thing all over again. I think the Red Angel story overall was done really well. Lots of moving parts. I understand that that's quite a feat to actually execute. And so I'm pretty happy with how that all did resolve. It mostly made sense. I need to go back and really process all of the details, though. But I enjoyed it, and I feel like this season had overall better pacing, much more cohesiveness than season 1 did. And this cast, I mean, they've always been fantastic, but I think Jonathan Frakes said in an interview recently, he's like, this show has grown the beard. I totally get that, and I do, to some extent, agree with that. I think the cast has gelled, and then I'm hoping going forward in Season 3 that this is now Disco's time to shine on its own. Season 2, Pike, of course, and the Enterprise was a fantastic gem throughout the whole season. I mean, the fan response has been just over the top, and rightfully so, because Anson Mount is fantastic. They did do a beautiful job with the Pike stuff. Spock, I'm kind of on the fence about that still, but Pike and Anson Mount, I am all for it. Number 1, I totally am on board if they do decide to do a Pike and Number 1 Enterprise show, however that solidifies, because there's that fan petition, and they're actually, Anson Mount even said, hey, I'm open to the idea, let's talk. Be totally cool with, let's say, like a little 5-part miniseries, because, I mean, we can't let that beautiful bridge just sit in a warehouse and go to waste. Oh, no, we can't.
That's true. That is a beautiful bridge.
They did a beautiful job, and I loved Giorgio's orange, snarky commentary, because, I mean, that's just a cute little thing for those of us who have been fans forever. Of course, like orange of all colors, you're really doing that? Yeah, they did.
They did such a good job of melding the original with a Discovery era bridge.
Totally. I mean, they nailed it.
They really did.
Yeah. So you said on Twitter just, what was it, yesterday? Like, I don't want a Pike series. I want a Pike movie. I am with you there. I would love to see this crew in an action flick. But you know what? The whole technicality of CBS versus Paramount, we're never going to get it. So I'm back to a series now.
When I said that, I had no idea that it was going to be retweeted and favored so much, because I think it's like in the 200s on how many times it's been favorited.
Dang.
But when I said that, I didn't mean theatrical release.
Oh.
I meant, and I just haven't been correcting anybody. I just been kind of like chiming in a few times here and there, because a few people have talked about that, about like the CBS and Paramount BS that goes on. I didn't mean a theatrical release. I just meant like a 2.5-hour TV movie that would be released on CBS All Access.
Aha. Okay. Totally cool. Let's do that.
And then a lot of people are just like, well, why would you do that when you could just do a miniseries? And I think my only response to that is that one thing that if they did a miniseries or a limited event series, what I would enjoy is a season in the structure of Sherlock where you have 3 90-minute episodes.
Sure. Something like that would work. But I think it does need to be a short-lived kind of thing. I don't think Anson Mount wants to sign on for multiple seasons of a show.
No.
He's a busy guy. He's got a lot of projects, I'm sure, on his plate that he would like to do and is going to do. But at the same time, I love the fact that he's even willing to entertain the idea. It would probably be stupid of CBS to not at least explore it.
Do something.
Yeah, because this really hit a note with the fans, and whether people like Discovery or not, I'm seeing people across both sides saying Captain Pike is where it's at. So
Yeah.
Come on, capitalize on that. Get those people who hate the fact that they have to subscribe to CBS All Access and make them do it to see more Captain Pike.
All right. Well, should we move on to our episode?
Should we do the actual show? Because I'm having a lot of fun with this, but yeah, let's do that. We promised a good couple of weeks ago, before you got sick, that we were going to rewrite an episode. We have not done this in a long time, and so we are far past due. And you and I picked the TNG episode Ménage à Troi.
Yes, it is season 3, episode 24, and IMDb. Excuse me. Got a little cough there. Needed some little water. IMDb describes it thusly: when Deanna's mother spurns advances made by a Ferengi daemon, he takes it upon himself to kidnap the two of them, along with Commander Riker, and steal them away aboard his ship.
I'm dying to know. We have not talked about this episode prior to recording. What do you think about this episode? Do you like it?
I thought I did.
I just about did a spit take. I was sipping on some water, and that was not the answer I expected.
I honestly thought I did. Like when we have discussed episodes in the past, like like via text chat and everything like that, we usually try to shy away from doing episodes that are horrible and great. We try to do middle of the road episodes. And I remember, obviously, I've seen Ménage à Troi multiple times, countless times, because of all the rewatches that I've done of TNG. And I remember thinking, like, oh yeah, that was a cute one. Like that was a fun one. It has Riker and Deanna, like rekindling a few things. It has Lwaxana, who's fantastic, and it has Picard quoting Shakespeare in a really campy, fun way. It's a fun, cool episode where the whole world is not going to be destroyed. And when I watched it just yesterday, I was so bored. And I was like, this episode, maybe I've been ruined by Discovery trying to pack in 90 minutes worth of material in 42.
Maybe.
But this story is about 20 minutes worth of content stretched to 45. And
Yeah, I see that.
I think that's the main thing. It's just like, oh my gosh, it's repetitive, it's boring, it has a lot of fun and cute moments, but they're too spread out. What did you think?
Yeah, this is not my favorite, and I rewatched it a couple of weeks ago before you got sick, thinking we were going to record it then, and it's not good. No. I mean, there are things to enjoy here, but the overall story is just... It's kind of pointless, meaningless. I feel like they miss the good beats, and then they try to overinflate the things that aren't as great, if that makes any sense. So, and this episode has two things working against it in terms of an audience favorability rating. We have the Ferengi, which in the TNG era, I'm sorry, just are not that great. Also, side note, we have Neelix the Ferengi, because Ethan Phillips plays one of the Ferengi in this episode, and I could not escape that. And then we have Lwaxana Troi. Some people do not like Lwaxana Troi at all. I kind of enjoy her just because of the way she likes to pick on Jean-Luc, and that is executed well in this episode because she kind of puts him in a corner where he has to fight for her love. It's fantastic. And also, the overbearingness of Lwaxana. The Ferengi, these idiots, totally deserved that. So they got what was coming to them, and I did appreciate that. But the rest of this thing where, like Troi and Riker, we know that's not really going to go anywhere. Okay, it's cute in the moment, but all right. And then there's this Wesley storyline. He's about to just really unceremoniously beam off the ship to be gone to the academy forever, right? But no. And instead he gets a promotion. I feel like that's where they skipped a good note, because there was some stuff to explore there with Wesley not really wanting to leave, his feelings of just, oh, I don't really want to say goodbye. Am I ready for this? But then, nope, he's got to wait a full year. Okay.
Yeah, it reeked of, we don't want this character to leave full time yet.
Yeah, so we're going to tease you with the idea that maybe he will, and then no. But really, he misses that one chance to get on the ship and then has to wait a full year for his oral exam before he gets into the academy. Are you kidding me?
With a fantastic excuse as well. Like there was
yeah.
two captured Starfleet officers and ambassadors whose lives were saved because Wesley decided to skip his oral exam.
That made zero sense to me. And I really kind of wanted them to explore his pre-academy anxiety a little more. Let's talk about that. I feel like in our rewrite, maybe we have a little more of that because they touch on it. They bring up that this is a thing and then they don't explore it.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way as you do for the most part. Like, even though I thought the Wesley thing, I usually roll my eyes pretty hard whenever Wesley's involved, but I thought it was a good storyline, and it makes me frustrated whenever they do stuff like this, because I feel like back then they could have made some sort of excuse or some sort of pilot program where, because of your unique situation, because you're so super smart, and because you're on the flagship, we're going to try something where this has never been done before, but you're going to be taking your academy classes in the field.
Yes. Okay, we're on the same page. That's exactly what I was thinking, is like he could maybe do some, like distance learning and on-the-job training to count for some academy credits, basically. While he gets promoted to a full ensign, we could keep that, and then he doesn't have to leave, and then maybe that can kind of just prepare him a little bit more to when he does need to go to San Francisco. That makes so much sense. Also, the way that he saves the ship, and a lot of times I hate it when Wesley saves the ship, he does a really good job here. Let's give him credit.
Yes, he does. He does a good job, and it's in a believable way.
Yeah.
And it's in a because he remembers kind of way, not because I'm so freaking smart. Well, I mean, it is because he's smart, but it's because, I was there for this. I witnessed and actually made a note of the music, and that's why I understand what's going on.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think, like, if we're just going to, like, jumping into the rewrite just now, like, that is definitely something that I would rewrite, is that I would change this episode to be, instead of like making him a full field promoted ensign that actually doesn't mean anything later on because he doesn't have any academy training, it would be, I've convinced the headmaster of Starfleet Academy, whoever that is, I don't know what Dumbledore. I've convinced Dumbledore to allow you to take your classes here. Our staff will be your professors, and like something like that. Like, is it cheesy? Yes. Is it corny? Yes. But it would solve the Wesley problem of shipping them off when they don't want to ship them off.
Totally. And also, I'm sorry, but the crew has kind of been doing this anyway. So it's not really that different, but this kind of justifies him continuing to be on the show for at least another year.
Yeah, do something like that, or have him do it part-time where, like for like a quarter or a semester he's on Earth and then he does field stuff on the Enterprise, something like that. So that way we can keep episodes like First Duty.
Right. Yeah. We don't want to change anything like that because a lot of that stuff is really good because he's learning some hard lessons. So you kind of liked the Wesley story, it sounds like.
I did. Like, I don't normally, but I liked this one because it was very grounded. It was very, in my opinion, realistic for that character. But you could tell that they were having a sitcom problem of kids growing up.
Yeah. I'm kind of on the same boat with you where they kind of feel like they kind of needed to earn his worth to keep him on the show or something like that to that effect, which didn't completely work. But quick fix that we just did, I think, smooths that out, and it probably adds a few more minutes if Wesley's, say, talking to Commander Riker a little bit, or maybe even talking with Guinan if they could have gotten Whoopi to explore some of his anxiety issues, and then maybe tone down a little bit of Loxana and the Ferengi ship and blah, 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 because that does feel a little stretched out, and, I'm just a little grossed out by that whole thing. Because the Ferengi are gross, where they say things like, oh, every female has her price. Wow, what a line. Okay.
Do you know what I found interesting about that whole thing?
What?
Is not so much how the Ferengis acted, but how humans and the Beta Zeds reacted to the Ferengi. Because that would never fly today in 2019.
No.
The way that they were talking about the Ferengi, because you have the captain of the Federation flagship saying in his log sweeping declarations of his distrust and distaste of an entire race. Not the Ferengi government, not certain militaristic viewpoints of the Ferengi, not this particular daemon. He says Ferengi, the race. He's like, I don't like them. I don't want them on my ship. That's intense. And we kind of, brushed it off in the 80s and early 90s because it's science fiction. It's a race that's not real. But when you look back on it on 2019 eyes, which I think some people do a little too hard and a little too much, it's something that you're just kind of like, ooh, that didn't age well. And
well, you're right. Yeah. You are absolutely right. And this is not a good Starfleet message. You don't have to like the Ferengi, but you know what I saw in this episode was them not giving the Ferengi any chance.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's anti-Starfleet. Bite your tongue just a little bit, and they absolutely are not. They are all biased, and that is not cool. Whether you like the Ferengi or not, they should have at least tried. I mean, if you're going to invite them, at least be courteous and cordial. But I didn't really get that sense. I mean, that was kind of like the big, like a speciesist attitude they were all having. Not great, guys.
Yeah, very much so. And I think like in a rewrite, I definitely changed that to something a little bit more palatable, where you speak of the Ferengi delegation or the Ferengi military or the Ferengi government. You talk about those types of things. You make it specific, where like, it's that way you can, like you could say like, oh, like I don't want to give any real world examples because like it'll sound weird if I give a real world example, but it just kind of takes the sting out of it a little bit, makes it a little bit more 24th century and a little bit more understanding of Picard, who's in that position. Picard, who is a diplomat, a trained diplomat, and the captain of the Federation flagship, would be much more careful in his wording, and especially speaking to people in public as well as in his logs about how he would phrase things regarding race relations, species relations, and things like that.
You would think. And also, these are TNG era Ferengi. Give them that chance to prove themselves, to step up and be better than we think they are, because they don't have the best reputation already on TNG. But then let them damn themselves. Let their actions speak for themselves. And then you can confront them with their horrible attitudes and shitty behavior and say, that's not cool. You probably need to go.
Yeah, and on top of that, like some people kind of draw parallels to this kind of thinking to Kirk in The Undiscovered Country when he's talking about the Klingons and saying, let them die. I don't think that's a very fair comparison, because the entire point of that movie is his arc of understanding what he said was wrong and how he felt was wrong.
Yeah. Also, there's a lot of, forgive the phrasing, the bad blood between Kirk especially and the Klingons. I mean, there was a Klingon who killed his son.
Yeah,
and
last
so
time
with
I
Star Trek
checked,
6, they're really addressing that head on. I don't think that's a fair comparison because it's much more personal for Kirk.
100%. Yeah, last time I checked, Picard didn't have his son killed by Ferengis and didn't have to wage war on. Actually, wait, I'm gonna repeal everything I was just about to say, because the Ferengi did put his potential son in danger, and he lost his starship, the Stargazer, because of the Ferengis. So he actually does have some personal examples, but I don't think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think it excuses it, but it does give Picard a little bit more depth with his interactions to the Ferengi than other captains, I think.
Oh my God, I didn't even think at all about that. Now, what would have been nice maybe as a refresher for our audience to maybe incorporate a little bit of that to remind us why maybe there are some deep biased feelings, at least on Picard's part. But the thing is it's not just Picard. It's everybody.
Right. It's not just Picard. Like, that's the thing, is that like it's not just Picard. It's the Beta Z delegator. It's Laxana. It's other people making comments. And I remember in Caretaker when Harry said to Quark, I remember at the Academy we were warned about the Ferengi.
Yeah.
And Quark is just like, excuse me? Like,
Yeah.
slurs against my people? Like, this is kind of the first time that Star Trek was called on its crap with this specious behavior towards the Ferengi, and I thought it was done really well, and they kind of stopped doing it since then.
Yeah, well, and then DS9 really developed and evolved the Ferengi to be as we know them now. In this era, though, in the TNG era, though, they are just such a hot laser whip mess.
But I think we need to move on.
we do. So,
we do.
Okay. I want to know, as far as the Loxana and the Ferengi story goes with the kidnapping, what parts of that did you like? Did you like any of it?
I liked, I thought it was hilarious. This is going to sound weird, but I thought it was hilarious when they were beamed out of their clothes because it's a very Ferengi thing to do.
Especially for females.
Especially for females. And the main reason why I liked it is not for any weird, malicious reasons, but because I thought the effect was done perfectly. Like it was seamless. Like when you see the clothes fall and they're gone. I was looking for the transition point and I couldn't find it. And I was just like, bravo, guys. Bravo. Like very well done. That's the main reason why I liked it. But I liked Riker and Troi going on leave together. I liked them being stuck on the ship together. I liked Loxana talking with Deanna mentally and telepathically during the whole exchange. And I liked Loxana using her guile to get things done and try to pseudo-seduce him. I thought it was a little... One thing that I'd like to remove is how little she could control herself when she's like... when she goes like, how repugnant... And he's like, what was that? I meant how romantic. Like, yeah, it's funny, but it's so on the nose and obvious where you're just like, oh, okay, come on. You were an ambassador. I know you're crazy. I know you're over the top, but you were an ambassador. You're in a life-threatening situation, and your daughter's in a life-threatening situation. I think you can control your tongue from saying repugnant in front of the guy who could kill you and your daughter.
Well, and meanwhile, as an ambassador, she has her approach of basically putting the proverbial bag over her head and giving Damon Togg a little too much of what he wanted. I mean, the umox. I mean, using all of her feminine wiles to make this happen, which is a very Loxana approach. And I do appreciate that. And then, of course, I love her kind of putting Picard into the corner of having to fight for her love. That's adorable.
That's the best thing of the episode, honestly.
Absolutely, yes, by far and away. And Patrick Stewart just totally nails his complete repulsion and at the same time delivering with that. It's great. It's very Picard. It's exactly what it needed to be. The thing that I think really kind of turns me off at the very beginning of this episode is we know how Loxana is always on Deanna's butt about not having a family, not getting married, and no children. And this is so much about Loxana not respecting Deanna's wishes on how she wants to run her own life. And I get it. I know a lot of parents, do this to their kids. Once they get married, it's like, oh, come on, I want grandbabies, that sort of a thing. But she needs to lay the freak off. And so what I'm always waiting for when they have this sort of confrontation is Loxana and Deanna having a conversation about just respecting Deanna's wishes and understanding that Deanna's happy where she's at right now. And, Loxana, family is what made her happy. Children made her happy. But maybe that's not what Deanna wants. Not right now, maybe not ever. And that is just as okay.
Well, to be fair, they did have that conversation a couple of times. I think the problem is that they had the conversation too many times. They had the same conversation about 3 times about Loxana saying, you need to relax, you need to do something fun, you need to, have a family. And she says, I'm proud of my work, I'm proud of being on the Enterprise. They had that conversation, I think, literally 3 times. And that's what was part of the redundancy that I didn't think worked. And part of me feels like they should have been captured later in the episode. If I was rewriting this, what I would do is focus more on Wesley, like you were talking about, focus more on the dynamic between Loxana and Troi, and Loxana and Deanna, and also throw Riker in the mix there, where maybe Loxana, because she does this a little bit later in the series, she confronts Deanna about Riker, saying, he's keeping you from being happy. He is keeping you from finding somebody else, because as long as you guys are on the same ship together and not in a relationship, you always go back to each other. Because this is always something that I've that's my total headcanon, is that whenever they're not in a relationship, they're totally getting busy with each other.
Oh, sure.
And
yeah.
that's my headcanon for Janeway and Chakotay as well. And
you and me both, buddy.
And so I would want to explore that. I want to make that the guts of the episode, where it's all about the relationship dynamic between the three of them, between Lwaxana, Deanna, and Riker. So like that is your, for lack of a better term, Ménage a Troi, is Riker's relationship with Lwaxana, or lack thereof, and Lwaxana's viewpoint of Riker and Deanna, and Deanna and Lwaxana. And so with all of that, it just gets all really messy, and Riker's like a good time guy. Like, he loves Deanna, but he knows it's never going to work out. At least that's what he thinks. Obviously, they get married.
Certainly not at that moment, anyway.
And yeah, and so, but they're both comfortable with each other. They both love each other, but they know that it's not the right time. And so it's like putting on an old blanket that they love and feel comfortable with. And so I would love to explore the dangers of that from Lwaxana's point of view. And then you have the Ferengi stuff at the beginning, and then like towards the end, you have them captured by the Ferengi, where maybe the three of them have to hash it out in the jail cell. And
yeah, that's what I thought should have happened, is if they're going to go there, let's not just touch on it and bring it up a few times like you mentioned earlier, but let's actually hash this out. What sort of an outcome would you want this conversation to have?
What I want and what should happen are two different things.
Okay, that's fair.
What I would want to happen from a fanboy perspective is Deanna telling Lwaxana, it's my life. I'm going to do what I want. If I want to smooch this bearded man, I'm going to do it. And if I'm going to get into a relationship with somebody else, I'm going to do that too. I'd want her to fight for her independence, and Lwaxana to respect that. But I feel like what probably would happen, and what would be best, is a halfway point where Deanna establishes that independence, but also says, you're probably right. We keep running back to each other whenever it's convenient, and it's inhibiting us from exploring real, natural, and intense relationships with other people instead of just flings. Maybe we need to have some distance from each other. I feel like that's probably what would happen from a story standpoint. But what I want is the independence and Deanna saying, I'm going to do whatever the hell I want.
And I actually have a completely different view. I thought maybe this would be the point where Lwaxana maybe can play a little bit of matchmaker and say, look, you two obviously love each other still in some way, and try to bring them a little closer together. Maybe get Deanna to second guess herself just a little bit. Open her mind to the idea maybe. With, no real resolution, but maybe, just maybe, if you wanted to rewrite a little bit of canon, bring Riker and Troi just a little close together. At least acknowledge that, yeah, we do love each other. Maybe we should explore this.
I like that. Like, rewrite canon just a little bit where, like, all sides are viewed, all sides are considered. Deanna establishes her independence. Lwaxana gets her point across, and Riker's just the boy toy. And
he's fine with that.
And he's fine with that, obviously. But at the same point, like, maybe they do realize we do have something special. It is a possibility that we're going to get together. Maybe one day we'll stop screwing around, and not literally, but like stop, stop being juveniles and commit. And commit. Like, maybe that is something that we can consider, but not today.
Yeah. So, really, nothing totally changes, but they acknowledge it. And I think regarding Janeway and Chakotay, that's what we really needed out of that relationship, is we needed those two to sit down and say, look, I've got feelings for you. You've got feelings for me. In any other circumstance, we could totally make this happen. But you know what? With the way things are right now, as long as I have this ship and this crew to get home, we can't do this officially.
Yeah. Yes, we almost had that conversation in Resolutions. Yeah,
I know. And then almost again in Hunters. I know they were kicking around ideas to try and have that scene in the ready room really hash some things out, and then they just totally chickened out.
What did she say? What was it like in that later episode? What was the episode you just mentioned?
Hunters.
Yeah, she said something like super super vulnerable and super sexy in her Kate Mulgrew way. She's just like, what am I supposed to do, Chakotay? Am I supposed to just admit how I feel? Like something like that.
That was cut from a promo. Yeah, where they have that. I think maybe they filmed a little bit of that. I don't know how far they did. There was a rumored kiss, all sorts of. I mean, it could have been wild where they actually did have an ending where maybe they were going to have them go there, but then ultimately they filmed what they did. Mm-hmm. So what is it going to be, Chakotay? Acknowledge my feelings? Stay fast to protocol? What? In that throaty Mulgrew voice that I just totally slaughtered and tried anyway, but hey.
Even I got a little worked up just now.
But yeah, that totally happened, and you can find that somewhere on YouTube. It's a really grainy promo, but it's out there.
It's out there. Yeah, it's something like that. And that's what I would do. Honestly, that's what I would do. Bulk up the Wesley stuff, have a conversation with Guinan, have him change it so that he could do his Academy stuff on the ship. You really wouldn't have to change that much of canon. You really wouldn't. And
no, just go deeper on the better parts of this story, the issues.
And then really keep the Ferengi stuff as bookends, like as an intro and an outro where it's like kind of quickly resolved.
Which is fine, and then we don't exhaust the Ferengi.
Right.
Because they can be a little much.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you end with the Great Picard ending, and then I think you get a better episode.
I think so, too. I think that's what we could do.
Cool. Well, I think that does it. Ta-da!
Ta-da!
All right.
Yep, that's it, folks. That's our episode. Hope you enjoyed it. We haven't done a rewrite in a long time, so it was really nice to flex those muscles. We were a little all over the place, but I think it's good because whenever you have scatterbrain, sometimes you can go out of order and come to a final place that makes a better episode, or at least a more entertaining one, or at least something different.
Hey, and you know what? In real life, that is what a whiteboard is for, is to put all your scattered thoughts in order.
100%. And so, thank you so much for listening. Make sure to listen to our back catalog by going to thenerdparty.com/punchit if you want to write to us and ask us to talk about a certain thing, or if you have a show topic in mind, go to thenerdparty.com/contact. Select Punch It from the drop-down menu, fill out the form. It'll send us an email. You can also find us all over social media. You can find out all those places on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram by going to thenerdparty.com. And you can find us personally on Twitter. You can find me at The Insane Robin.
You can find me at Oh the Profanity, and if you've got other episodes you would like us to rewrite, tell us your candidates. We'll consider them.
Absolutely. So until then, next week, we're going to be doing something awesome, Star Trek related, and that's all you're getting because we're going to punch it.
Ready for warp, sir. Let's punch it.
Join the revolution. Join the Nerd Party.